This short video is just about the Greystones Road and the roundabout and the diversion of a footpath. Which is again just an historical record, really. But quite interesting is when you travel along the parkway, just as you're coming down towards Greystones roundabout from the west, when you're going down, dropping down the slip road, on the right hand side there's evidence of what was a road. It just comes to a dead end. And if you look on the plans, you will see that this road was supposed to continue at some later stage round the north side of Lazenby as a new entrance into what was then Wilton ICI, or Wilton site. And down Greystones Road it passes over a great big bridge which you don't see. When ICI bought the estate, it came with almost no conditions attached to what you could put on it, factory-wise. And this bridge was for an extension to the Wilton site at Lackenby, the fields at Lackenby. But it came to nothing. But it still has a restriction on it. The people, if you look on when the estate was sold off, those fields at Lackenby still have this condition that at some future stage they could be used for industrial purposes. I don't think it'll ever happen, but anyway, it's still there. But that's why that great big bridge is there, this massive thing. There's a footpath goes under it now, from Lackenby to Lazenby. But it's just a great big white elephant. This was a plan produced about the building of Greystones Road, which of course now exists. But it was mainly about the closure of this footpath. This footpath ran from Lazenby to Lackenby, and then you could walk up there and along the main road into Weston. And many people used it. Similarly, a large number of people used to go down to Grangetown, walk down there to the steelworks. But of course the problem was here. They were going to have to put a bridge in, a little pedestrian subway under the road here. And they decided not to do it because of the cost. But other things quite interesting. They built a big bridge here, huge thing, to allow for building of a factory, more of ICI here. You can see just how small ICI is at this particular time. But the other interesting bit is, it says here, future access to ICI Wilton Works. Now look at that in a bit more detail on another plan. And you can also see on here that the parkway wasn't yet built, and the Lazenby bypass wasn't yet built either. And the whole of Whale Hill estate doesn't exist. This is a more detailed plan at the top of Greystones Road. This was the controversial bit. This is the footpath from Lazenby through to Lackenby. And they wanted to close this off. They did not want to build this subway here. They put a subway in under the road at this point, where the roundabout is. But again, interesting to see was this proposed access to ICI Limited Wilton Works, which was never built. When you come along the parkway, just as you're approaching Greystones roundabout, there is this dumb end road here. And on the original plans, this was to be a new entrance into Wilton ICI. It never got off the ground, and now ICI is gone. So it never will. It's a complete white elephant. It was supposed to go around the back of Lazenby. And down into Wilton ICI. It's marked on the original plans. That was what it was supposed to be. That was what's supposed to happen. These are the cottages at Lackenby, built by Mrs. Downey and Co. The back row is now gone. And before they built Greystones Road, there was this controversy about this public footpath here between Lackenby and Lazenby, particularly this bit here. Greystones Road ran on a big embankment. It was a spoil from the reservoir, which is on the right of the road here. There was a great big mountain of spoil here. Huge thing. And many people walked from Lazenby along this footpath to Lackenby, and then it continued up here, and you could go to Grangetown or you could go up to Essen. But the argument was that the cost of putting a subway in here was not justifiable, bearing in mind how many people use the footpath. But what they did do was just, I don't know how far that is, less than 100 yards down here. They built this accommodation bridge, as it says there. This was built. And I think it had two purposes. Gales, who farmed at Lackenby, they also farmed these fields here. And this barn, which was in the field just down, I would think it 50 yards from, or 100 yards from Wilton Green. It's now disappeared, but it was a substantial thing. You can see it on one of the photographs of Wilton Green. You can just catch sight of it. So Greenwells had these fields and this barn, and I think this this accommodation bridge was for the purposes of reaching this barn and those fields. But when it was built, it's absolutely enormous. I'll get some video of it. It certainly wasn't for the odd tractor and trailer, or to drive a few cows through it. When ICI bought the estate, they were given carte blanche to do what they liked with it. South of the river, they could have built almost anything there without interference, without planning permission, and that still applies today, although ICI no longer own the site. And that includes all this land here, and more importantly, on the other side of Greystones Road, it includes this land here, the land at Lackenby. And so this accommodation bridge wasn't just for Gale's tractors. This accommodation bridge was access between this side of Wilton ICI and this side of Wilton ICI. As it turns out, ICI disappeared and the whole lot was sold off, but in the brochure, when these fields were sold off, there was a condition attached to them to do with this industrial development, to do with what you could do with it, just about anything really. It would never come about because ICI disappeared, and rather foolishly they wouldn't build this. They built this, which is an absolutely massive and far more expensive structure. But the public footpath was in fact stopped. This was stopped. Nevertheless, what has happened now is the public footpath comes down here, goes down to this accommodation bridge, through there and back up again. So all this public inquiry about this footpath here was totally unnecessary and very expensive. And this was this documentation which went with the problem of providing this subway. Interesting little bit here. Would not interfere with ICI's future development. ICI's since disappeared, and the development in that area never came about. and this was the public hearing, which was in 1967. And again it mentions this: accommodate a new road into Wilton Works, the site of ICI Limited. And the company ultimately extended their existing industrial development over the area concerned, and it's just come to nothing. ICI, or the old ICI site, is gradually shrinking away. If you want to read all of this, you can just use your stop button. And eventually comes the decision. So the subway was never built. So this is the footpath between Lackenby and Lazenby, and this is where this subway was proposed and turned down, where Greystones Road goes over the top. And this is where the water comes from Low Worsel to the reservoir, which is on the other side of Greystones Road. I can remember them putting all this in a long time ago now. See, you can see old Lackenby there and Eston now. So the track comes down here now, alongside the road and under this bridge. There's a accommodation bridge which they built, and is now the public footpath. goes under here. This bridge linked what would have been the ICI site on the right hand side of Greystones Road looking north, and these fields here between Greystones Road and Grangetown. And as I've said earlier, these fields have some condition on them, which came with when ICI bought the site from Wilton Castle. And this is Kettle Beck, still flowing. During the war it was made into a tank trap, and it was known by the kids as Tanky. So we used to build dams across it and make great big ponds. And here you can see the ICI site with the Wilton gas-fired power station, which doesn't seem to be operating at all. This is the back of Wilton Green. That was number 21, where I lived for 16 years. Trees, they're enormous. This is Wilton Green from the other end. This is number 26 in front of me. And these are the playing fields. And this is the reservoir which they built in the late 40s, early 50s. It took them ages to dig it. And all the spoil that came out of here is under Greystones Road. It forms the embankment of Greystones Road now. And there you can see the police house, where the village Bobby used to live. So this was the original track between Lazenby and Lackenby, which is still a public footpath. It was stopped at one time. I'm absolutely amazed at just how well wooded this is. None of these trees, or certainly the little tiny things when I was a kid. This was just open ground. And this pipe which flows into Kettle Beck is in fact the overflow pipe from the reservoir. The original path used to follow the line of those fence posts there, and now in front of you you've got this Greystones Road, so we have to deviate to the right and go down here. This big embankment, which is well treed, was never there. It wasn't there when I was a kid. It was put up much later on to shield Lazenby and Lackenby from the noise and flares from ICI. It's a wonderful wildlife haven. And this marshy area in front of us with this reed mace growing really quite spectacular. just see the tops of the houses in Wilton Green there. So I would think if you're a kid, it'd be it's still a great place to wander about. This brings us back round to the accommodation bridge from Lazenby. There we are.